let's say you've got all of your business from referral, or you've got all of your business from Google Ads. For example, you're an accounting firm. Why is someone getting referred to you? Is because they know they have a problem with their finances or their bookkeeping, whatever it is, and they're already looking for an accountant. Well, that's great. They're coming to you and it's very easy to sell them something. Or if they're Google Ads and they're searching for accounting firm in London, they already know that they need an accounting firm in London and they're actively looking for one. That's very different to someone who discovers you on LinkedIn, because people don't like really being sold to, but they're open to being educated. So your content is designed to sell your point of view. And then once they've bought into your unique point of view, they're probably ready to potentially buy your product or service. And so you're creating customers of your own rather than fighting over the ones that are already problem and solution aware. It's more scalable, but it requires a very different mindset.
Hello, David. It's good to see you this morning.
Great to see you as well.
Welcome back to another episode of Building in Public with David Ellis. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Yeah, doing really good. People can probably see if you're watching this on YouTube, I got some new glasses.
Nice.
I also got a new Finance Bro gilet. So I'm feeling good.
You know
My dream...
I had to Google that word when you first told me.
My dream would be to have like a wardrobe full of different gilets. They're just like, it's such a practical piece of clothing. I don't know. I love it.
Okay, let's dive into this episode. So today we're just going to be talking about some of the learnings from the last couple of weeks. So what's a hot topic on your desk this week?
Yeah, so I mean, just for context as well, I spend pretty much all my time consulting with clients. So with companies that want to grow, B2B companies that are looking to grow. And this is businesses that are, starting up and relatively small. And it's also businesses that are doing 50 million, 100 million in turnover already, and they're looking to kind of go to the next level. So I have a really interesting perspective, I think, on the B2B marketplace. And something which is coming up a lot at the moment is I'm talking to people about selling their point of view rather than trying to sell their product or service with their marketing. By which I mean, usually when people are buying a product or service from us, they kind of go through various stages. So the first stage is they just have to be aware of us. So that's the first thing. They have to find out about you in one way or another. So there's that awareness phase. Secondly, I think they have to buy into how you see the world, your unique point of view, we often talk about there. And then once they've bought into your unique point of view, they're probably ready to potentially buy your product or service. But what I've noticed that a lot of companies do is they try and skip from awareness to buying the product or service without the middle phase, without the kind of authority building, kind of nurturing, getting them to see the world the way that you see the world. And then some companies, they're just trying to go straight to number 3. So like someone doesn't even know who you are yet, and you're trying to sell them a product or a service. So I think this is a really useful way of looking at it for a lot of companies. And what does it mean in practice? Well, in practice, it means your content and your landing pages and your marketing assets are designed to sell your point of view. And then you speak to the customer. And if they buy into your point of view, you can then try and sell them a product or a service. I'm speaking mainly about kind of B2B service companies, consultancies, service providers, that sort of thing. I'll give you a really tangible example from our business. So most people generally become aware of us from content, whether it's on LinkedIn or YouTube or somewhere else. And then what we're trying to do with all of our marketing content and our marketing assets is we're trying to, I don't want to use the word indoctrinate is a bit unhelpful here because it's got some negative connotations, but you're trying to help them see the world from your point of view. And so we're trying to sell that point of view, which is really our unique approach to growth and our unique growth protocol. So it's things like focusing on market resonance, focusing on building demand rather than just generating leads. These are some of the insights that people have probably heard me talk about ad nauseum at this point. So we're trying to get them to buy into that as a worldview and a way of growing their companies. And then if they buy into that and they want some help applying it to their business, they're probably going to book in some time to speak to us, or they're going to shoot me a DM on LinkedIn or whatever it is. And ultimately, that's our opportunity to see if we can actually help them with our product or service. But we don't lead with the product or service because the reality is people don't care. They really don't care what your product or service is. They just care, can you help them achieve the outcomes that they want to achieve and remove the pain that they currently have. So that's something that's coming up a lot, selling your point of view rather than trying to sell your product or service.
I've heard you talk about it before when you and you think you used a dating analogy, which I really liked, about like you don't propose on the first date, right? You need to spend some time getting to know the person, convincing them why you are a suitable partner, and then you're ready for the sale. I think that's definitely something that we are seeing a lot of, and it ties back a lot to the market resonance piece.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think it's the other piece of this is that people don't like really being sold to, but they're open to being educated, if that makes sense. And there are obviously some people who they're problem aware and they're solution aware and they're ready to buy something. So I think what I've noticed, and this is probably a good way of thinking about it, this is really common with businesses. If let's say you've got all of your business from referral, or you've got all of your business from Google Ads, those are people who are problem aware and solution aware, and they're ready to buy. Well, they're not always solution aware, but they're often problem aware. So let's give an example. You're an accounting firm, and you've grown purely from referrals. Now, why is someone getting referred to you? Is because they know that they need an accountant. They know they have a problem with their finances or their bookkeeping, whatever it is. They know that they need an accountant, and they're already looking for an accountant. Well, that's great. They're coming to you, and it's very easy to sell them something. Or if they're Google Ads and they're searching for accounting firm in London, they already know that they need an accounting firm in London, and they're actively looking for one. That's very different to someone who discovers you on LinkedIn. And so that's the shift that you have to make. It's more scalable, and you can educate them, and you can make them problem aware, and you can make them solution aware, which is very powerful. And so you're creating customers of your own rather than fighting over the ones that are already problem and solution aware. But it requires a very different mindset. And so I noticed this is very common with businesses who have grown from referral, grown from inbound from Google search. Need to it's a change of mentality as much as anything.
I really liked how you used that practical example, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you think of a client that when they first came to you, they were selling their product or service, and how you kind of changed their messaging to be more value-based? So I'll give you a few seconds to think about it.
No. I mean, the reason this came up is that it's come up in conversation like 5 times this week. So I'll give you one example, which is a really cool company that I did a workshop with this week. They're a leadership coaching business. And I won't give any of the specifics away, but basically their main product at the moment, the thing that they're really pushing, is a workshop to help businesses get the most out of their Gen Z employees. So there's this real issue with Gen Z employees that for whatever reason, they don't seem to, a lot of companies, especially sort of traditional organizations, are not getting the most out of those employees. They're not sort of fully engaged, et cetera, et cetera. And so they had a landing page, which was, here's a workshop for companies that want to learn more about managing Gen Z employees. So their main traffic channel was LinkedIn. So they're creating content on LinkedIn and then driving traffic to this landing page, which is basically, here's a workshop, here's what you get, this is how much it costs, book in a call and see if you're a fit. And that's not terrible. Like it makes sense and it is working. But what we talked about is shifting that approach and saying, same content on LinkedIn and maybe tweak it slightly. And then the landing page is designed to sell the unique point of view with regards to Gen Z employees. So it's like, hey, are you a company that has all of these problems dealing with Gen Z employees? Here's the backdrop and the reason why those problems are occurring. Here's a high level outline of a solution for Gen Z employees. And this is I'm talking from their point of view now. This is our perspective as a leadership consulting business. This is how you should think about approaching it. And this is our unique point of view. If this resonates with you, let's have a call. And then obviously on the call, you then sell them the workshop, if that makes sense. So that's a really tangible example of a conversation that I had this week. And to be honest, this probably comes up in maybe 8 out of 10 of the consultations that I have. Very, very common.
I think it comes back to a lot of what you said, is that people are tired of being sold to. With social media nowadays, we're just so bombarded by ads at every scroll. So like not making your content look like an ad. Like most of our content is unbranded as well, which is something that it's unlearning that needs to happen.
Yeah. People really struggle with that, don't they? It's just, but how is someone going to buy my thing?
No.
But how will I get their email address? You don't need their email address. Yeah, it's a real change of philosophy. I think that's why it's and I really respect the companies that go through this transition, because it's really changing the way that you think about it. So it's we're not saying it's easy, but I do believe that in 2025 there's a competitive advantage for companies that move quickly on this, and it won't be there forever. So in a couple of years we'll be talking about something completely different, would be my guess.
And I was just thinking, I wonder what 2035 is going to look like. It'll be like, we've hidden our email address somewhere on this website. You have to find it.
Yeah, maybe. But it's funny in a way. I think, like you said, with that sort of that friction almost I've seen, like funnels that have a bit of friction in it can sometimes perform better than the ones that it almost seems like you're very abundant and you're not really desperate to speak to someone, which is really, again, I'm speaking mainly to B2B service providers because that's my area of expertise. In most of those organizations, you want to be seen as the expert, and you don't want to be seen as someone who's chasing new business, which is another reason why the kind of cold outbound LinkedIn DM sort of strategy is just not great for your average B2B service company, in my opinion. But yeah, that's a whole nother topic. But I think the point being, you want that abundance. You want to feel like people are coming to you and they're making that decision of their own accord, rather than you pushing them through a sales cycle.
That's so true. And what you said, people can smell desperation a mile away. And I think that comes in a lot, even in the sales calls. Like if it's like this, more of a consultation, we're having a conversation, I want to get to know you, understand your business, versus like, buy my thing.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And having a full pipeline of new business is really helpful for this. And I'm going to say that this is going to sound kind of crass and maybe a little bit rude, but like when I'm on a consultation with a client, I honestly don't give a crap if they buy the product, because I know we've got, like, the other day I had literally back-to-back calls of people that want to work with us. And so it's like, I don't really care if you buy the thing. Like, if I think you're a good fit, then I'm going to show you how it can help you. And obviously, ultimately, I want to be able to work with more companies and grow our business and all that kind of stuff. But there's definitely a mentality of within our sales team of like, we're not forcing people to buy. It doesn't matter if they buy.
It's almost like if they don't want to buy, you don't want them to buy, because you don't want to work with the clients who doesn't buy into your approach.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Okay, let's come back to the sales process. We've made a few changes to our sales process in the last 2 weeks. Are you ready to talk about it, or are we going to put it off for another week?
I think we'll put it off for another week or maybe 2. Okay. Just add a bit of drama. But let me just, I'll just cliffhanger this slightly. So we've made a small change to our sales process in the last few weeks, and it's looking like it's going to 10x how much we make per customer. So super interesting. I look forward to sharing the data and the details on it. Not quite ready yet, but we'll share that in the coming weeks.
Okay, great. So let's move on then. The last thing that we wanted to chat about today is something I think that everyone's feeling is talking about is AI generated content, especially on LinkedIn. What are we learning about AI in our business?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that any businesses that are not using AI or experimenting with AI at this time, it's a little bit like those of us who weren't using Zoom during COVID. It's like, you're going to get left behind quite quickly, I think. So yeah, it's an absolute no-brainer to look at ways that AI can be implemented to increase the words are not coming very well, to increase the efficiency within your business and opportunities to do things better and faster and so on and so forth. So that's on the one hand, and we're using it a lot in our business. And I've been really blown away by some of the use cases. And I think the balancing act is there's some things that it's really good at the moment, and there's some things it's not yet very good at, but it probably will get very good at quite soon. And that's kind of the weird thing with AI, is how quickly it seems to develop and improve. And I'm by no means an AI expert. This is just commentary from what I'm seeing. The flip side of it is that there's so many people right now, and I see this all the time on LinkedIn. There's so many people like right now who are just using it to be lazy, which I think is a real turn off. And so I've noticed there's some posts on LinkedIn where I've posted a piece of content, and then you get one person replying, and it's clearly an AI generated reply. And then someone replies to that reply with another AI generated reply. And then we just basically get these two AI bots talking to each other. So I don't know. I'd be really curious to see what LinkedIn is doing about this. I think we're still in the stage where the content generated by AI seems to be, if it's obviously generated by AI, it seems to be getting downgraded slightly in the algorithm. That's what I'm noticing, but I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, it's a crazy world. I mean, what are you seeing? You're ahead of content. You're in the weeds with this all day, every day. What are you noticing?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, LinkedIn at the moment is just like a swarm of AI generated contents, and it is we do need to look at ways to use AI, especially in content production. Someone once shared with me a phrase that like stuck with me, and it's garbage in, garbage out. So like you've got to feed the AI your tone of voice, your personality, your thesis, your point of view, these things that you've been talking about today. And it really needs to understand you before it can mimic you to create content. Where I think people are just like, hey, ChatGPT. They're like, that's not how AI works. I mean, it just makes me think of something I did with my son yesterday. He's super artistic, and we got him to generate a comic strip. I mean, he's 6, he can't read, and he could create his own comic just talking to the AI, and it like generated a full image. It was great for him. He's like hooked. And I think it's important that we start teaching like at a young age, but that there's so many use cases. It's about like exploring the opportunities within your organization and how you can find small wins to help improve productivity and efficiency, not for AI to do all of your work or to take your job away kind of thing, but how can you use it as a tool to elevate what you're really doing or to make you more efficient? And we spoke about this yesterday about we do a lot of custom GPTs, especially for like our accelerator clients that they can use. And I call them macro GPTs. I would rather create a GPT that does one small task and does it well and it's trained properly than just like let it go wild with like full content production.
So true. Yeah, so true. I think that's a really good insight. And one of the best ways it was described to me is to think of AI like a colleague, like a partner that can work with you.
Yes.
And obviously, if you were to hire someone new today and just not give them any context to your business or your tone of voice or how you like to write content or anything like that, it's obvious like that individual is obviously not going to be able to write content for you. I think we really see eye to eye on this at the moment. My perspective is the best use cases for AI is those micro agents that you talked about, where they're specifically trained to do one thing. And I was thinking about this the other day. It's almost like when you're going to, and I don't know the right term. Someone needs to tell me the right terminology for this. I'm just thinking of ChatGPT. When you're going to the general ChatGPT, I don't know what that's really called, like the homepage of a ChatGPT. I sound like such a baby boomer right now. And you're asking it to do things for you. It's a little bit like when you're 10-pin bowling and you have the barriers down. And so you might hit a strike, but you're more than likely, if you're not trained at bowling, you're probably going to end up somewhere in the gutter. That's the reality, and end up with a bit of like nonsense, a bit of rubbish. However, if you have trained a custom agent within your AI tool of choice to do one specific thing, it's almost like you've put those barriers up in 10-pin bowling. And so it becomes nearly impossible to get no points, to hit none of the pins, because it's going to keep the guardrails there. So that's where I think there's a real use case for AI right now. And I've been really excited looking at all of the ways that we can use it across our organization. I think at the moment, you still need people there because there's the strategic piece that you still really need a human being for, I think. But from our perspective, it's really exciting because it allows us to help more companies and to support more businesses and help them grow in a more leveraged way. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I think I love what you said about the guardrails, and it's just exactly like that. Like, because not only does AI generated content sometimes come across as quite generic and like it's very easy to spot, it's sometimes inaccurate. Like sometimes AI gets it wrong. Like, and you really need a human to check. Like if you ask ChatGPT how many R's are in the word strawberry, it will tell you 2. There's 3 R's in the word strawberry. And then you can so if you're training it with, like what we do is we take all of the playbooks. I mean, you've got more than 10 years experience working in B2B growth. You've taken hundreds of hours to create these playbooks. Then we use that knowledge base to train the GPTs to basically be able to expand what we're capable of doing. Like we can create more touch points with more clients. So like just improving our efficiencies. Because I think just like people are tired of seeing ads, people are really tired of reading AI generated content, especially on LinkedIn.
I think that's so true. And I think this is where B2B service businesses, this is your opportunity to create AI tools using your IP, using your intellectual property. And that's where the value is. So, if it's just a prompt that you put into the generic sort of AI tool, then there's no real competitive advantage there. Like anyone can do that. But most organizations, you have data points, you have experience, you have documentation that is your intellectual property. And that's really where the value is now. And obviously there's a human being side where you need to help people apply the knowledge. So it's not just knowledge. But I think that's a really exciting opportunity for companies at the moment.
Do you mind speaking about some of the practical use cases where we've implemented AI in our business that you think have been successful?
Of course.
Little.
Yeah, the caveat. Let me think of a good example. So one of the things we do with a lot of our partners is we help them write case studies. And we have a whole process around helping people. Usually we start with custom interviews. And then the beauty of that is it gives us an opportunity to do some fact finding. And then we also get a video testimonial out of it. And then we also get a case study out of it. So it's a really powerful piece of social proof. And we have certain ways that we like to write case studies and certain frameworks. And, we used to manually write all of these case studies. And now we've been able to train an AI agent to basically do the case study writing piece, or at least draft a case study. I think that's the key. It's not going to be, it's usually not going to be 100% where you want it to be, but it gets you a good 95% of the way there. And so that's a huge win for us because, it allows us with some of our kind of higher level clients to really speed up our process. And so we're using them within our services to speed up our own services. And then with some of our accelerator clients and businesses where it's more of a consulting type of an engagement, we're able to just give them direct access to the tool and then they can use it themselves. And it's saving them, hours and hours of time. And it's also saving them thousands and thousands of pounds because they're no longer paying a great copywriter for 5 hours to write a case study. They're just using an AI tool. So it's saving time and money. And allowing people to just focus on the really high value stuff. So that's one example, but there's a lot of them. And I think at some point down the track, we may have a product where we're basically just releasing all of our tools into the marketplace. So don't want to talk too much about that. Not soon. But it does get quite exciting when you start to think about it.
I'd love to just touch a little bit on that case study writer, because I know a little bit about the back end. And that what we were saying earlier is garbage in, garbage out. And the beauty of that writer, like how it works, how it was trained fundamentally, is on so we've tested, obviously, when we were manually writing case studies, what is the best format, right? Like, how do we format a case study when we write it for publishing on a landing page? And we've trained the case study writer on that format, on a tried and tested format. And then we aren't just saying this is the company, we're actually feeding it the video transcription from the customer interview. So we're extracting exactly what the customer said. We can analyze, like, are there points that multiple customers have mentioned multiple times? That's going to help us find our unique point of view, which is what we spoke about earlier. So it's like we're getting research from it, we're getting content creation from it, all done with the guardrails up, because we've trained it in such a way that it's optimized to write a case study that we know, because we've tested it with humans before we trained it.
100%. And that's the thing. And that's why it's unique, because no one else has that intellectual property. And so it can obviously be copied and it can be reverse engineered and all that kind of thing. But at the moment, it's completely unique, and that's where the value is. So we're able to give someone access to this tool, and it's, 10 years of case study writing experience in one tool, which is pretty cool.
That's it. Oh, I'd love to see a world where all these little macro GPTs are joined together one day.
I don't think it'll be too long. I think it will probably happen quite soon. I see a world relatively soon where basically the company is just a bunch of AI agents doing various things, and then human beings overseeing them. And then probably one day they'll just take over the world, and we'll just be their slaves or something. I don't know.
There you go. World domination. Amazing, David. Well, thank you so much for that chat. I really enjoyed it. Every time we talk about AI, I'm all in for the conversation.
You love it, don't you? Yeah, you're a fan.
Yes, it's just so much to learn in this space. I feel like, and also what I love about it is that, like, everybody's learning together. Yes, sure, there are some experts, but for the most of us mere mortals, we're all learning at the same pace. So even with LinkedIn being totally oversaturated with AI content, there's so much to learn if you are interested in it. So many free resources available for people to learn from others. And I think that's really beautiful. People are very open to sharing and learning from each other.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's actually a really valid point. It's like this collective learning process.
Yes.
It's interesting as well with AI, because it learns itself so quickly as well. So the development is just insane. It's really hard to stay on top of all the new developments and whatnot.
It really is. It really is. I mean, like, just 2 weeks ago, ChatGPT did a massive upgrade to its image generator. And now, like, it's made, sorry to say this, but a tool like Midjourney almost redundant. In one upgrade, it can almost like wipe out another tool. I mean, I'm a super Midjourney fan, and I haven't been on the platform in 2 weeks because I don't need to.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a little bit like when the social media companies are just like trying to muscle in, and they copy features from other platforms. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who wins the race when it comes to AI.
I don't think there's a finish line.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll just all keep running, waiting.
Yeah, just keep running and running.
Running and learning.
Yeah.
But if you're not learning, you're not growing, right?
I agree. And I think you just have to, in the way the world is now, you have to just embrace change. If you're someone who's fighting against change, then you're going to have a tough life in general, to be honest. Like, that's not even a business thing, that's just a life thing. Whereas if you embrace that things are going to always be changing, some of it's going to be good, some of it's going to be bad, and you just kind of embrace that, it does make life a lot easier.
That's really true. And I think that's the way you lead our team, which is really great, is that things change often. We work in a startup. But yeah, we're all quite accepting of the change and being able to adapt quickly.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. That's what I love about our company is how agile everyone is and how quickly we can pivot and adapt. So long may that continue.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for this chat, David. I look forward to the next one. I hope you have a good week.
Thank you. You too.